Yo, what it do, what it do? It's your boy Yellow the Poet, and today I'm here with Mr. Robert J. Hunt. He's the accountability guy. He's also an author of a book that we are going to find out more about, and you'll get the title soon. So definitely, before anything else, definitely want to thank you, Mr. Robert, for joining YTP Entertainment. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest. We're looking forward to having fun and definitely building to give our audiences something to learn from both of us.
Awesome. Thank you, Yellow. I appreciate being on your podcast.
Thank you so much. So please let our audience know what it is that you do.
I run business groups for CEOs and business owners here in DFW. That means every month we get together for a private meeting and we talk about all the challenges of running your business. The whole idea of accountability is built up through these books, which led me these groups, which led me to write the book I wrote. And the idea is that as a business owner, a lot of times we give ourselves an excuse not to do what we know we should do. And when you are the top dog or you are the solopreneur, like me, it's just my wife and I that run this business. And if I decide I'm not going to do what I should do, I know I should do, who's going to know? It's just us. And and I find that if you really want to reach your goals, you need accountability. You need
Yeah.
to bring yourself into a place of alignment with other people who can go, "Hey, I thought you weren't going to do that," or "I thought you were going to do that. How's that going?" And a little peer pressure, man. Remember peer pressure as a kid? People telling you to
Ooh,
jump out of trees or go up,
yes.
knock on that door and run away. All that stuff we were told as kids, and it's still alive and well as an adult. That's why you join a group like that. It's a little bit of peer pressure helps you get things done. That's what I do for a living.
Awesome, awesome. And please, since I did and you did mention your book, please give us the title of your book.
Yeah, the book is called Nobody Cares Until You Do. And it's really about the idea of accountability in our lives. I think the world has lost the idea of true accountability. We often replace the word responsible where we think it's being accountable. But responsible is showing up and doing something. Accountable is owning it. And a lot of people, they barely show up, but they show up and they're just going through life, just doing the very least they have to do, and they're miserable. And
Yeah,
I found in my own life and my own business that if you really want to have success in your personal and professional life, as you chase the life you really want, you have to be accountable. And that's what delivers the results. So that's what we write in the book. We teach about the principles of accountability and how it can bring freedom and power into your life.
oh my goodness, that is so awesome. Accountability is definitely a major tool, not just in the workplace, but just in life in
In
general.
life. Yeah. You know those people who aren't accountable. They just complain about everything. No matter, you'll show up somewhere and they'll be, "Oh, traffic was horrible today. My car didn't work." And there's always something they complain about. But
Yes.
if you really are stepping back and you look at the world, we're so blessed. We have such great lives. I mean, if you're watching this podcast right now, you own
Yeah.
a digital piece of equipment that has internet access. You're
Yeah.
richer than most of the world. And yet all we do is look around and complain of what we don't have. And we're
Uh,
very, very blessed. And so I think you stepping back and owning your journey and know that, the world doesn't owe it to you to have everything easy. God doesn't owe it to you. Your family doesn't owe it to you. You
right.
have to take with what you have and make the best of it and not complain.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And definitely to go along with what you were saying, because that's a powerful message. Count your blessings as they come. Count them as they come, and don't negate the small things. Because if you had somebody just say thank you, that's a blessing. Because most people are not courteous enough to even do that.
That's a
Count,
good point. That's a good point. The
count them.
little simple things too, they add up. That's one of the reasons why our parents, they had that old saying, count your blessings. I
Hmm.
don't think we say that anymore. But in reality, if you were to count them and you were to list them out, you wouldn't get so waylaid with the way the emotions are of today's world. You'd be able to look at this huge list. If you walked around with a big list of everything that you got, great. Next time someone cuts you off in a car, you're like, well, I'm driving a car. Some people don't have a car. If
That's
I didn't have a car, no one could cut me off, right? Or if I didn't have enough gas money to buy gas, I wouldn't be able to go anywhere. I mean, you
yeah.
start looking at all the things you have, and instead of being mad that someone cut you off, why don't you look at the fact you're driving a car, even if it's a beater? I mean, my first car, I had to push it to get it started for most of the time. I couldn't afford to replace the starter. And so I would just push the thing and jump in and pop the clutch for like a year. I don't have that anymore. And so I think there's a lot of blessings that can ground us when we want to get to be wanting to be.
Indeed. And if you do also look at it from another standpoint, if you do actually count your blessings, you'll be surprised at how much more balanced your life becomes. You
Yeah.
know, because balance is important, and balance does fall in alignment with accountability. Because when you are accountable for everything and you show that you are actually accountable for everything that you've done in your life and in your lifetime, I kid you not, eventually the scale starts to go like this instead of like this or like this.
Yeah. The principle here is, and we talk about this in the book, when you are a victim of everything, you have no power to do anything. Everything is bad. Everything happens to you.
Hmm.
Bad parents, bad teachers, bad bosses, bad government, bad everything. And if you start looking at the world and you change the way you look at it and you say, well, instead of what's happening to me, it's what am I doing in response to it? Because life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. And
Hmm.
so if you have a bad thing or a problem, or in my case, I grew up with a very abusive father who beat my mom and beat us kids, and we watched him as this angry, scary man. Now, I could have grown up to be an angry guy who beat his kids, but I knew that wasn't right. I learned that. And so instead of being bitter at the world, I said, hey, that guy was broken. He did all he could in a broken body and a broken mind. So I'm going to change the narrative going forward. I'm not going to beat my kids. I don't beat my wife. I talk. And even if I'm mad and frustrated, I've learned you have to communicate because there's a lot of it's just my own junk anyway, and the way I see the world. So
Yep.
you make a choice of how you respond to things, but I don't want to live like a victim. I want to live like someone who takes ownership for everything, and it gives me the power to go out and change everything.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That is so crazy that you said that because I too came from an abused background. Only difference is it came from both my mom and my dad. I was being abused by both.
Mm,
And it was no fun to actually grow up in an environment like that. The blessings that I did get was my grandmothers actually took me away from the environment. And
mm,
it was like once one child got taken away, it made it a little bit lighter on my siblings, but it was nowhere near as bad as it was while I was there.
mm.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I
Sorry, man.
to hey, it, the trials and tribulations are what make us who we are today.
It does. It does.
How
And
come
you
it?
are who you are because of that, right?
Yep. It's about how we overcome it, not how we dwell on it. Because if we
Yeah.
dwell on those things and not look back on it as a lesson that we learned from our parents, because we learned what they did was not good, and that was not something that would make me feel good. So once I got children, I'm not going to make my children feel the same way.
Yeah. And was that just your own resolve or did someone model it for you? Because, if you're with a family that beats everyone and is angry, that's the natural choice. What was it in your life that made you not want to be that way?
Well, first off, my grandmothers, all three of my grandmothers I had on my mom's side, I had my great grandmother and her daughter, my grandmother. And on my
Wow.
dad's side, I had my grandmother. And all of them taught me against all of the negatives that my parents were not verbally teaching me, but they were physically teaching me.
Yeah.
They taught me to be totally against that. And then I tell you one huge thing that really resonated in my life and to this day still resonates is how on my dad's side of the family, everybody knew my grandmother. I'm talking about literally from waste management to fire department to police.
Oh, the community.
Everybody knew my grandmother.
Hmm.
It was all for good reasons. Everything was positive. The reason why they knew her. So that right there was like, okay, I want to be known that way. If I'm going to be known, I want to be known the same way that my grandmother was well known.
Nice.
And I took that and ran with it.
So you made that choice. You had a bad situation and you chose a different direction. And I think that's the whole principle of accountability is
Hmm.
that at the end of the day, bad things can happen to us. We can be victimized by things in life, but at the end of the day, we decide how we respond to it. And I
Yeah.
have just found in my own life that I had a tendency to make excuses and blame things and say I can't do anything about it or just wait and hope it got better. And it never made my life any better. I never had any power or initiative to go change it because I was just stuck with it. But when I
Mm,
realized that I do have the power and I do have the ability to go do it, it gave me so much excitement about changing my life and being the person I want to be. And I've been through a bankruptcy, a divorce. I've had health issues. I've lost my job for a year. I've been through all kind of challenges in my life that really sucked. But at the end of the day, you decide, are you going to stay as a victim? Or are you going to own it and go do something about it?
hmm That is so true. That is so true. And I've run through all those things as well: divorce and um, losing multiple jobs. Like because I worked, always had multiple jobs, or either I've had my own business, or sometimes I had a job and my own business. And losing everything, it really taught me a lesson. And when I would sit down, finally sit down and analyze everything that went on, I had to come to the realization that mainly it was my thought. It was my thought process that allowed me to fall into this category that I had fell into.
Yeah.
And I refuse to allow myself to be a victim of my situation. Instead, I said, okay, I know that I've done this. I know that I've done that. I know that I've done some things that I probably shouldn't have done. So now let me fix this. And the next time I won't do these things that I've done, so that my jobs would actually become longer jobs. I wouldn't get fired. I wouldn't, constantly be blaming somebody else because of my issues, my own
Yeah.
personal issues. Because the first thing is what you're thinking. That's the first thing, because when you think it and then you react on what you're thinking, who else could you possibly blame for that?
If you're really being thinking, if you're really being objective, yes. But I
Yes.
think after enough years of doing it, the whole world has become very comfortable with blaming and making excuses.
hmm
And no matter what your situation is about your money or your health or your career, whatever, we are very quick to blame, but blame just makes us mad at the world. It doesn't
hmm
actually fix anything. And if that doesn't work, we make excuses, but excuses just takes away the initiative to try and make it better because it's
hmm
not your fault. It's this other thing. It's this problem. And a lot of times we put a but in there. I'd like to have a better job, but I can't get hired somewhere else. And the reality is you should just change the but to an and. I'd like
hmm
a different job and I can't get hired somewhere else. Okay, so what can you do?
hmm
And the but stops us. It's the and that makes us think about a solution. I'd want
hmm
to go ahead and fix it to buy this, but I don't have enough money. That's the but. I want to buy this and I don't have enough money. So what do? Rob a bank or do you go get a different job? Do you go back to school to rebuild your career? And I know it's hard. I mean, we talk about it in our book. When you're done making excuses and blaming and saying you can't, and you decide to own it, the future, the journey you're going to go through could suck. It could suck having to do the things you have to do to get where you want, but it sucks being a victim. I mean, I
Yes.
looked at my own life. We owed $90,000 in debt and we were really swimming in debt and it was killing us. That didn't include the house or the cars. And so
hmm
we just decided, look, we can't live like this. And whatever our excuses were, we stopped giving them out and stopped blaming, stopped waiting for something. We owned it. We said, nobody cares if we're fat, broke, unhappy with our lives, miserable, fighting with each other, unless
Yeah.
we care enough to do something about it. And then when we did, we decided to sell our house and start over. And we had a
hmm
beautiful home with a movie theater upstairs and big furniture and plenty of room to entertain and have parties. And man, we couldn't
hmm
afford it. We were living way outside our means. So we
Wow.
sold all that and we downsized into this home where we live today that we
hmm
rent, and we paid off all our debt. And it was beautiful. The peace that we had was amazing. And
Yeah.
with peace comes clarity. When
hmm
you are freaking out and stressing, you need to go get the knowledge you need to bring you from stress to pressure. Pressure is good. Pressure pushes us to get to be our best. Stress just freaks us out. We just run in circles. And so
Yes.
we moved from a place of panic and worry and fear to a place of focus, and we got out of debt. We then looked at our marriage and we looked at our faith and we looked at our health and our kids and everything. We're like, well, I don't like that either. Why don't we fix that? I know if we could
Beautiful.
fix that thing, we could still fix that one, right? And it was
Yeah.
this motivation to make everything what we wanted it to be like. And that's the journey we're on today. We just keep trying and trying and trying.
Hey, and that's a blessing. That's another blessing to count right there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Keep counting those blessings as they come. That is amazing. So in your in your everyday, the things that you've learned throughout your life, how much of the things that you've learned from your own personal journey are you applying to your business?
Well, I hope all of it, but I mean, everything what you don't learn, you're going to repeat. And
Mhm.
so I have learned the hard way. I never wanted to be a business owner. I was a director of marketing most of my career working for companies. And then I moved to Texas in 2010 to start over, and I needed to get out of California. It just was not a good state anymore. And so we came to Texas, and I was doing marketing consulting, but I wasn't really finding joy in it anymore. And I met this dude who was doing peer groups, and he bought the license agreement to represent Texas with these peer groups. And as he was telling me what it is, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. That's exactly what my personal purpose is. I want to do that for the rest of my life. And so
Yeah.
I quit and I went to go do that. But I didn't know what I was doing. It was a really hard journey. So I worked for him to try and learn. And about 2 years into it, he quit because he wasn't making any money. And so I'm
Uh-oh.
like, well, I guess I'll just keep doing it on my own as a subcontractor to the organization. But I didn't
Mhm.
want to own my own business. I wanted to work for some dude, let him be the guy who runs the business and let me just do the fun stuff, hanging with clients, solving problems, doing strategy. But then I had to own my own business. So I had to learn paying bills and watching cash flow and how do I do sales and how do I generate leads and all the things that you have to do and taxes and how to have cybersecurity threats, all these things that you have to own as a business owner. It's exhausting, but I am
Yes,
constantly learning and getting better all the time.
that's a blessing. Another blessing. See,
Yeah.
if you can't stop counting them, then you know that you're going in the right direction.
Well, if you can't count your blessings, you're in a bad mood because you're not looking around very well. I got a beautiful wife who's been married to me for 26 years, and she is awesome, and she's my best friend, and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And if just to have her in my life alone is enough to say, I don't need anything else. I've been given more than I deserve. But I have
Right.
healthy children. I get to live in America. On and on. As many problems as we have in our country, we're still way better than all the other countries combined. We just
Indeed,
are.
indeed. That is amazing that you would say that because my wife is my rock, and since 1994 we've been together, and nothing could ever make me change my mind about being with her. Never.
Nice.
could,
Nice.
I would never regret any moments with her. And the blessing part is something that we talked about, which some people find it amazing. They look like, what? Are you serious? We've never once had an argument.
That's awesome. That's a gift right there, brother.
Yes, indeed.
I
Yes.
think about a lot of times about how people could get sideways with wanting everything and not being realistic about life. And all you
Hmm.
got to do is go to some other country where they constantly have their freedoms taken away, where they
Yeah.
spend a lot of time just trying to get food. And as tough as life can be, we're all going to eat food pretty much every day. And if
Hmm.
someone was living on the street and homeless and had to go, so there'd be a place to go get food. So I
Yes.
know, and I know there's some extreme situations in all cases, but in reality, all of us are going to eat food and sleep in a bed tonight, especially
Yeah.
everyone watching this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we just have to be able to come back and set some realistic expectations for our lives. Everything I do for the rest of my life goes in a box the day I die. It isn't
Mhm.
going to be mine. I'm not taking it with me. And the only
Yes.
thing that truly matters is the relationships that I've poured into over the years that I've been alive. Let's say I
Mhm.
build a totally bitching company. I'm making a ton of money. All
You're
that
right.
money stays here, so does the company. What
Mhm.
continues to last are the people that come to work for me, the lives of my neighbors that I care for, the
Yes.
friendships I build that pour into encourage each other. And those
Yes.
things really last, but that's not what we worry about. We're not focused on those things. We're worried about money or how do I get more stuff. And it's weird. If you really logically had to write it on a whiteboard and tell everyone what you're worried about, they'd be like, dude, where's your focus, man? Are you really getting all caught up about that? You got a
Exactly.
wife and healthy kids? Come on back.
Yes, please wake up, wake up. It's
Yeah,
like they say at the movie School Days, wake up. And that's what the people really need to do. A lot of people really need to wake up because realization and reality, accountability is all going to be here until the day you die, and then some.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it doesn't fall on you; it falls on someone else. And there's many other people in the world that are actually living up to the standards, but then there's many others that are not. And us knowing this, we just have to be prepared for what we can do. We can't worry about the things that we can't do when it comes to someone else's life. You worry about the things that you
Mm.
when it comes to your own life because you are in charge of reconciling whether okay, this is something that I'm going to be able to fix right now, or is it going to take me some time to fix this? And whatever it is, be dedicated enough to go ahead and get it done.
I think you get a little overwhelmed in life, and a lot of that overwhelmness is self-generated. And
Hmm.
I think, well, I need more money. Why? Well, this is all the money I spent, and I'm out of money. Well, if you spent less, you wouldn't be out of money so often. And one of the ways that we learn to spend less is to want less. So in our older house, it was really big. This is a tiny house. There is literally no room to add anything to this house. If
Right.
I was to buy a new thing, where would I put it? Like someone was saying, I've always wanted a Vespa scooter. I know it's just stupid, but I just think they're so cool. And I grew up in the 80s, and the cool kids at school drove Vespa scooters and dressed like they were ska people. They were in ska bands, and they had
Right.
the hats and the skinny ties and stuff. And I thought those guys are so cool, and they
Those
drove
days.
Vespa scooters, man.
I'm
And
a
I s-
Gen. I remember those days.
yeah, and I
Yes.
wanted that so bad. So I can't. I had a really good year, and Kathy's like, "Well, do you want to buy the Vespa scooter this year?" I'm like, "Where am I going to put it? Where am I going to put the Vespa in the living room? It would have to be in the living room next to the TV to be able to have it in this house. There
Oh
is
my.
no place to put a scooter." And I like living like that. I don't know that I want to change it anytime soon. I don't think I've learned my lessons. I think if all of a sudden I landed like $1 million, I'd probably blow it all. I mean, that's what I did with all my other money. If you really be honest about it, it's
You
not
can't.
around. Where'd it go, right?
You
God's
can't.
already given me so much money, and I just keep squandering it. Why would he give me more money, right?
Right. You can't take it with you, so you may as well enjoy life. Why worry about how much is sitting in the bank account? As long as you've already covered everything that needs to be covered,
Yeah.
everything else is a desire or a want. And if you focus your life on desires and wants, you're really not going to go anywhere except for backwards.
Most everything's a desire. At these days anymore, there's very little that is need.
Hmm.
Food and shelter. And
Hmm.
that's really it. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, everyone pretty much has that covered. It's the need, it's the want stuff that we can't keep up with. And if I get a new computer two months later, it's like I'm already bored with it. I mean, the day you take it out of the box, like this is so exciting. Look at this computer. You spend a month trying to make it work right, and then you're bored with it already for the next 2 or 3 years till you get another computer, right?
That's true. Hey, you know what keeps me going? And this may be a little awkward for some people, but what keeps me going is learning something new every day. And that's one thing that a lot of people say is not a need, but when you've done it for so long, it becomes a part of your needs.
Mm,
And learning something new every day doesn't cost me anything. It's not going to take up any space in my house. It may take up some space in my head, but that's fine. You
I
know,
got room.
I got plenty of room there. And it doesn't get in anybody else's way, and it's just good because it may seem a little cliche or something, but a lot of times when you are learning something new, sometimes you are faced with that situation that you just learned about. And by you already learning it, it's like this to get either get out of the situation, overcome the situation, or doing everything that's appropriate for that situation.
Yeah, I think we were at this place in our life where technology and growth is so fast, it's outpaced our capacity to enjoy it. And
Mm,
I don't know if you remember the early days of the internet or the World Wide Web, where we're
yeah.
like, why would I need that, right? Or then someone
Mhm.
comes out with a personal computer. Why would I need a computer at home? I mean,
Yeah.
most of us didn't even have one at work, right? And so as these things grew on and grew on, all these stories they told you about how easy life's going to be, like, robots are mowing our yard, we're all just sitting around reading books and stuff. And none of it came to truth. And all it did was just make us busier and more overloaded. Where
Mm,
I take a computer in my pocket everywhere I go, and sleeps next to me in bed, charging
mm,
next to me. I am within a digital device 24 hours a day in most cases. And
yes.
and so because of that, there's no contentment, there's no rest, there's no sitting and thinking again because you get so many inputs and things are attacking you to get your attention. But in the old days, when you were done with your work and it was a machine shop or it was a manufacturing plant or whatever you did, it stayed
Right.
there. You went home. So you could
Exactly.
play with your kids. You could talk to your neighbors. You could have a beer with a friend on a patio and talk. But today we work late because we do. And then we take our computer home and then we're not talking to our kids. We're looking at our phone while they tell us about school. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just we're doing it to ourselves. And so
Yes.
if you're not living the life you want, it's probably because of the choices you're making.
Hmm.
Well, I'm going to say it is because of the choices you're
It
making. Not
is.
probably, it is. And we made tough choices to change our lives that were really embarrassing, public, hard choices, like selling your house and saying, well, we're selling our house because we're $90,000 in debt and we need to
Mhm.
restart our lives. Well, that's embarrassing. But
Yeah.
we had to own it. If we just lied and said, "Hey, we're upgrading to a mansion in Fort Worth," they wouldn't
Mhm.
know because we weren't going to be in the neighborhood anymore. But we were lying if we did that. And so it was just this whole process of taking control of our destiny, deciding what we wanted our lives to look like, and not making excuses anymore.
Mhm. That's true. That is so true. I give you an example, and this is a true example that's about to happen shortly after this podcast. My family and I are actually going to get together today. We're going to do some barbecuing, and
Nice.
I actually have board games to keep us competitive
Nice.
against one another, but to also keep us in alignment with one another. So that
Oh,
is
nice.
a way to definitely keep the family together and give the family something to do besides dealing with technology.
Yeah.
You
Have
know,
you heard of Taco Cat goat cheese pizza?
no, I've never heard of that.
It's a great game. Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. It's a card game, and
Uh-huh.
little kids and adults can all play it. And I took it actually to my meetings with my clients, and I had each group play this game. And originally, when we started the game, I told them the name of. They're like, "What are we gonna play?" Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, and it is hilarious. It's a card game. It's really cheap. Everybody can play it. And it's totally hard to do because you have to think as you play. The words are different than the pictures, and it's so fun. I highly recommend Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. Here,
I'm
this
actually
podcast is endorsed by Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
hey, that'd be awesome, right? I'm actually pulling it up right now, and it says recommended for ages 8 and up. Most definitely.
I
I
learned from my nephews who were at the time were like 6 and 7, and
uh,
they were rocking it. And it's hilarious. It's a great game. It's very challenging to because you got to use your brain and your hands. And but I played it with my nieces and nephews when I was in Atlanta not too long ago, and they were
uh,
littles, and we had a great time.
oh, that's crazy. Because we used to live in Atlanta. I'm originally from Chicago, and we lived in Atlanta before we moved here to Texas. Because I'm also in Texas too.
Oh, where in Texas are you?
I'm in Gerald, Texas.
Where's Gerald?
Gerald is like 20 minutes away from, not 20 minutes, about 30 minutes away from Austin,
Oh,
and
okay.
30 minutes away from the military base in Killeen.
Okay. My daughter lives in Austin.
Oh yeah, so we're
Yeah.
right in the middle.
Right on, man. Right on.
It's actually pretty cool because I did a lot of work out there in Austin, working for the school bus company. I was a school bus driver trainer, so I used to
Hmm.
teach people how to safely drive the buses and teach them about the laws and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool job.
it was fun. It was. It was a lot of fun, especially when you get to see the expression on the children's faces after you've given them something motivational and they're looking back like, "What?" And then sometimes I get the huge round of applause and like, yes, yes, thank you so much for that information. Yes, thank you. And then next thing you know, here come the parents. The parents like, we heard that you were like one of the most motivational and inspirational bus drivers ever. Please keep it going and
Nice,
gift
nice.
card for this and here's a gift card for that. So it was great. It was.
Whatever you do, you should do it to your best. I mean, what's the purpose of having a job and doing it just half-heartedly? You're not getting the reward. The person who hires you is not getting the reward. The people around you aren't getting the reward. I mean, if you're going to go to a job, you should rock it, whether it's a really big, important, fancy job or a simple job. Everything you do, you should do it your best because you have a job. A lot of people don't have jobs. A lot of
True.
countries, a lot of people will never have work and they're just starving and they're trying to find just enough money to survive. If you have a job, you should rock it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. 100%. Anything that I do, I feel like I have to be the best at it. And
Yeah.
in my head, and I'm also competing physically with everybody that's around me to be better than whoever is the best. Even if the manager is the best, I'm competing to be better than the manager. So yeah, who it is.
Well, I think excellence is its own reward. I think you will always, if you truly want to pursue excellence, it is doing the best of your ability while you pursue the life you want. So
Yes.
excellence is not void of some kind of existence. It's in within the chamber of the thing you want. And then so
Mhm.
if you're choosing to live a life where, hey, I want to be home with my kids every day when they get out of school. And so
Yes.
maybe the mom takes or the dad, whoever's the raising the kid role, would take the kids to school, do a part-time job, and then be home for the kids because that's the vision of the life they want. Other
Mhm.
people would say they don't want to have kids. Whatever your thing is that you want to do, if you're going to pursue it, you should do it with excellence. And it's the best of your ability, held
Yes.
within the frame of it. That's the life I want. Not
Yeah.
optimizing the crappy one you ended up with, but the one you intentionally wanted to have and you chase that one.
That is so true. That is so true. We have a lot of people who focus on the negative so hard that they don't really see the positive things that are coming towards them. And when
Yeah.
you miss all of those dynamics of positivity and blessings and all of the kudos and things of that nature, when people are actually pointing it out to you that, hey, regardless of what you're saying right now, look at all these positive things that are happening around you. If you continue to miss that, then you also continue to put yourself in a downslope and put yourself in a position that you're constantly saying you don't want to be in this position. Okay, well, stop, shut up, look at your surroundings and
Yeah.
see all of the positive things that's happening around you, and then go jump into it. You got to.
That's why we called the book Nobody Cares, because it's something you say to yourself, not to other people. You say
Mhm.
to yourself when you're about to complain or make an excuse or say there's nothing I can do about it. Wait, nobody cares until you care enough to do something about it. And then I found in our journey that when we cared enough to change our lives, there were a lot of people who stood up and said, I'll help. I'll help
Yeah,
you. And they
yeah,
cared about me and they supported me in my efforts. But if you want to be a victim, they'll do the same thing too. You want to be a victim? Yeah, hey, yeah, your boss does suck. Hey, your wife is horrible. Yeah, your kids are horrible. And they'll join in the journey and complain with you. People will go along with whatever you're choosing to chase. So I
that-
suggest you chase greatness and let them support you in that one.
oh my goodness. So I ask you this because I'm loving the title of your book, no doubt, and that is so true. Nobody cares until you do. So tell me this: what are some of your KPIs, your key points of interest that you want people to get out of their book?
Number one is just to recognize how often you play the role of a victim and you're not aware of it. Kathy and I did not see ourselves as victims. We did see ourselves as getting screwed over by God, being screwed over by bosses, being screwed over by the economy. We looked at ourselves as a victim but we didn't really go, I'm a victim, look at me. We just lived that way. And
Mhm.
your response in its neutered effort is that, well, I can't do anything about it because I got screwed by the government. Okay, so that victim mindset, we just don't see it anymore. So the number one goal is to be aware when you are playing a victim role. And it's not to minimize the victim situations that people go through, like you and I did with abusive parents, that
Mhm.
there was true victimization there. However, I am not a victim. I'm not going to stay in that. I'm going to go and do something. And I have the power and authority to do it because I'm capable. And
Mhm.
so, first thing is that they be aware of when they play the victim role and they're not aware of it. come to this awareness point where they go, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Nobody cares if I'm not happy with my marriage or my job or my health until I want to do something. And then we give them steps to make a plan to get better. Because
Hmm.
if I just point out the fact that you're playing a victim, I don't do anything for you. I need to give you the tools to move forward. And those four tools are to acknowledge the reality, embrace the suck, find a solution, and make it happen. And that's
Hmm.
the process that Kathy and I went through when we realized we're screwed. We owe all this money. Well, the reality is you had 90,000, you had more than $90,000 equity in the house. We could sell the house. We didn't want to. That was the embrace the suck part. I don't want to do that. I like this house. It's going to suck. But it was the solution. And so then we went and got a real estate agent. We made a plan. We got the house cleaned out. We got it up, fixed up all the things we had to fix up to make it worth more, found a place we could rent, did all the work, and then we made it happen. And so
Yes,
we modeled that in our own life, and we saw the power and the joy and the peace that comes from really being accountable for your life. And that's what I want people to find from the book.
and that is amazing, and it's definitely true to the lifestyle that you're leading right now. Because that right there, it shows people that there is always a way out of all of your
There's
complaints.
always a way out.
There's always a way out, but you have to be willing to go through the process to make it happen. You have to
Yeah,
be.
and you have to be vulnerable. Accountability requires vulnerability. If you keep lying and telling everyone that everything's fine and you don't care and there's no problems, that's not true. You're never going to get help and you're never get better. But if you're honest about it and say, "Man, I got issues. I don't know what I'm doing," then
Mhm.
other people can go, "Well, let me help you. Here's what I did. I know how to do this. I get this." But if you don't be honest, nobody can help you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And that's something I pride myself on is integrity. That's one of the things I love about doing my podcast is because I tell everybody is real, is raw. So therefore, you don't have to worry about anything being scripted. Everything that we talk about is this is right now. This is exactly what it is. There's nothing fabricated about it. I love that. So when you're speaking on integrity, that is something that drives me so hard when it comes to the positive, when it comes to elevating my levels of energy. I love people who are straightforward and honest about everything.
Yeah,
I,
because we all got junk, we all got problems, and you trying to look like you don't, not only doesn't help you, but it actually makes you look like a fool because everyone else sees your junk. And whether
mhm,
you want to acknowledge it or not, they see your brokenness, they see your attitude, they see the problems, but they got their own junk, so they're not going to fix yours for you. But
exactly.
if you think you're hiding it, you're not hiding it.
Yeah, the only thing that you're hiding is how stupid you actually feel internally. Of course, we can't see that, but we can definitely see what you extrude,
Yeah,
what you put out there for
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
else. We can definitely see that. And 9 out of 10 times, what you're putting out there is that very thing that you thought that you were hiding internally.
And once you learn the tools of accountability, you apply it to everything. We're still working through this today. I wanted to get healthy, so I went on this weight loss program. I lost a lot of weight, but then I come off the weight loss program and I put it all back on. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, what did I learn? Not much, but for a while there, I looked really good. And so what I learned is I can get thinner, but you got to want it. You got to have a thing that you're willing to stick to. And so, that
Mhm.
the accountability towards a healthy lifestyle is something that I've always struggled with, but I still own it. I'm not blaming it my genes or
Yeah.
well, you cook too good of food. I mean, don't eat it if you don't want to eat. I mean, it's all these things we blame, right? But
Yeah.
nobody put that hamburger in my hand. It was me getting that out of my own will. So I think
You
this
made the
this is a long journey.
yes, you made the decision. When you make that decision, guess what? You got to live with it.
Own it.
I
Own
mean,
it.
just because there's a restaurant out here and it has your favorite food in that restaurant doesn't mean you have to go to it. You have to make that decision to go to that restaurant and grab that food. You have to make the
Right.
decision. Notice I keep saying you have to.
You own it.
You have to. So if
Yeah.
you don't own it, then who else can you blame because you made the decision to go and get something that you knew that you weren't supposed to have?
And there's a really cool ripple effect in accountability. When we got out of debt, the peace I had in my life was so remarkable, and the clarity I got in making decisions. I looked at my business in a whole different light. If I didn't like someone I was trying to take business with, I would say, no, thank you. I don't want to work with you. If they were like arrogant and they were going to be full of themselves, and I thought, I'm going to really struggle with this, I used to take those clients because I need the money. But now I'm like,
Mhm,
I don't think you're going to be a good client. I don't think I'm going to enjoy working with you. So forget it. So the confidence level was there. And then because I had better clients, I made better decisions. They had better results. There was this ripple effect that came about in how I looked at every other problem with such confidence. So if you can just start by conquering one thing, you can
mhm,
go and find the power of owning it and the success and the feeling you get. It'll feed another thing and another thing and another thing because you're on this trajectory of truly owning all your stuff. You feel very powerful and you can tackle everything.
mhm. Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness. You are definitely building an empire here because everything that you're saying it definitely resonates with me, and I'm hoping that it resonates with our audiences as well. I need for my people to get out here and make sure that they're getting this book and gaining this knowledge and definitely retain the information that's given to you because as you can see from the way that the information is being spoken, you can tell that this information is not just something that was just thrown together. You know, this information is something that Mr. Robert went through. This information was something that Mr. Robert learned, and he actually took the time out to put this information together so that you too can have a successful journey. So make sure that you get out there and get this book. And it's true, nobody cares until you do.
Yeah. Well, they can go to our website and they can buy the book at nobodycaresbook.com. And actually, for your podcast, I was trying to pull up the form. I created a URL that is nobody cares pod, like podcast, nobody
Mhm.
cares pod.com. And anyone who goes in there and puts in the code word YTP, then I will
Yes,
mail them a copy of the book to the first two people who fill out that form. And just give me your address and in the contact form. If you really want to read the book, if you really want to change your mind, I will change your life. I will pay for that book out of my own pocket and mail it to you if you really want it. So nobody cares, pod.com, code word YTP.
jump on it, people. Don't let the opportunity pass you by. And you all know how I am. Stop playing. Make sure you get this information because this information is important to you and many other people in the world. Let's make it happen. No doubt. So, Mr. Robert, one of the things I want to ask you too is has there ever been a time in your business where you actually did B2B? And how does the B2B portion of that work if you've done that?
Yeah, most all of my career was in the B2B sector. We
Okay.
did in computers, telecommunication, military, aerospace. So that was always B2B. But my role was a marketing director in those cases. I wasn't a business owner. But I
Okay.
think the B2B idea is it's very different than B2C in that,
Yeah.
the whole way you approach it. And I think we get a mindset that everything should be B2C oriented in the way we communicate and market. But B2B just needs to have proof. They need to have real numbers. They have documentation. They need to have systems and reliability in what you're doing because they're going to turn around and put their name on it and try and sell it to someone else or be
Yes.
responsible when they get to the final client facing situations. So I think it really
Mhm.
does become you as a leader to be really diligent in your processes if you're going to be in B2B. Certainly, cash
Mhm.
flow is king in all businesses, and the way that you go about building your team so they represent you in the marketplace is important. But if you don't have repeatable and scalable processes, when you get demand that peaks and you get to a bigger volume and you can't handle it, you might as well just start over because they're going to drop you and they're going to go to somebody else. So it's really
True.
important that you develop the processes that are ready for the growth you want.
Yes, indeed. That is so true. That is so true. So, and also, as far as your B2C, how is it that you go about your process for getting them started for one, and for two, keeping them actually coming?
From customer perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
B2C is so fickle. My goodness, it's all sound bites and imagery, and you have to be able to go where the customer is going. One of the problems why people don't sell products well or get to their clients is they're either in the wrong place with the wrong message at the wrong time, trying to talk to the wrong person. There's just so many parts of that go in. Have you priced it right? Do you know if they even want it? I
Hmm.
hear people, someone called me and want to know if I want to run an ad in a golf magazine. And it was like really cheap. It was only $1,000 and it was going to be this great coverage. I'm like, my clients
Wow.
aren't looking at golf magazines. What do you, why would I spend money? Yes, reach a whole bunch of people, but they're not sitting there looking at a golf magazine at the golf pro. If they're golfing, they're golfing. If they're not sitting in the lobby looking at your rag.
Hey,
And so
right.
but you have to really make decisions as to where you spend your money because you know your audience, you know where they go for information and how they process information. And I've also seen
Yes.
people spend a ton of money on a website that no one ever goes to, and they're
Hmm.
not communicating the right offer. It's like a digital brochure, but you're not helping someone. If you go to my website, you're interactive, you're filling out forms, you're watching videos, you're learning
Hmm.
something, and we're giving you value on the website. But most people just throw up a bunch of information on a screen and go, here you go, here's information. It doesn't do anything for me. People, you got to meet them in their process of the journey. Maybe I'm exploring, trying to figure out something. Maybe I'm comparing you to somebody else. Maybe I'm evaluating you higher. You've got to move them through the journey to make a better decision.
Yes, indeed. And I also noticed too, for the people out there, this is something that's important to me is that you also brought awareness to Mental Health Month. I'm on your website. I was paying attention to pretty much everything, but that right there really caught my eye. Um, that is so important, and one of the things that in this world a lot of people are struggling with, and they are also looking that to see that people are actually paying attention to that. I feel like it's an important part because even some of the people that are having mental health issues are also business owners, and they're doing things not only to help elevate their business, but also to continue to help the mental health aspect or the mental health people communities to get better health, better health care, and to help them to be better at what they're doing, whatever the situation is that they're struggling with. So I definitely commend you for definitely having that on your website. I think that that's very important for a lot of people.
I don't think we can ignore mental health anymore. I think it used to be a stigma that you were some crazy weirdo if you had some mental
Mhm.
health issues. But I think in today's world, you're the odd guy if you don't have a mental health issue. you know because mental health in the biggest the definition of it is anything that affects your ability to process things logically. And so
Mhm.
have you been did you have a tough childhood? Yes. Have you had problems in your marriage? Yes. Do you have problems at work? Yes. Do you have problems at home? Yes.
Yes.
You all have mental health issues. it's a,
Yeah.
it's a broken, stressed out world. And so
Hmm.
everyone has some kind of thing. What we're not doing is we're not handling it right. My son, God bless him, this young 22-year-old boy, sees a school shooting, and his immediate response is, let's take every gun away from everybody. And I tell him, James, every time something goes wrong, if we just take more freedoms away from our people, we're going to eventually be a country we don't want to live in anymore. But rather than finding the solution and just taking more guns away, why don't we figure out why all these kids are going crazy and shooting everybody? Why don't we
Hmm.
actually care for the individuals? How about if we all went out and met every one of our neighbors and actually helped them and cared for them like they used to do in the old days when they built barns together and they shared food together? Nobody went hungry. They all helped each other. And why don't we go
Hmm.
back to being a country where people actually talk to one another, not on a social media platform, but eye to eye, and give a handshake and a hug and invest in the lives of the people around you? Why don't we go back to being that place? Mental health will improve when people are treated like people again. And when we get it
Yes.
to be digital and we compartmental and silos and we stay at home and we're not out socializing like we used to, people get a little lonely and anxious and stressed and depressed and isolated. And that's when people go crazy and do crazy stuff and divorce
Mm.
their spouses because they're just bored with life, and beat their kids because they're stressed, and steal from work because they're just overwhelmed. All this stuff that's
Yes.
going on, we're not helping ourselves. We got to get
Nope.
back to some place of solid relationships as a solid way to affect mental health.
Yeah, and also to get back to some place where we can understand that this place right here is my sanctuary for serenity. And let me keep this place right here because if anything goes wrong, I need to come here, get myself back together, regroup, and then go back out and continue to deal with the things that I need to deal with in
Yeah.
society.
Yeah. And I think for me, living out my faith is a big part of my mental health because I have a faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and He gives me peace. And I know God intimately through His Son, Jesus. So when I face really crappy situations, I don't keep them and fester and hold on to it. I lay it down and hit the feet of Jesus and say, dude, I'm freaking out. Will you help me with this? And he hears me and he responds, and I have word from the Bible that I learn and I grow. And so all these things that want to come at me with problems and fears and anxieties, I can write them down and I can give them to God. And people are forcing themselves to leave their faith at home and go to work for 5 or 6 days a week and be devoid of their faith. Don't leave your faith at home. Maybe your faith is not the same as my faith. Okay, bring whatever faith you have to work with you all day long so that
Mhm.
because every faith out there, the ones I've met, make you a better person. I don't know
Yeah.
of any faith that says go around and be mean and you
Yep.
do all these malicious things. They're not that way. So maybe you don't believe what I believe, but you believe something. Well, then bring that to work because you're going to be a better employee if you're a
Yes.
Muslim who's at work living out your Muslim faith. You're going to be a better employee because those the things that you learn and believe tell you to be nice and patient and forgiving and caring and responsible and honest. All the Christians don't own those words. We didn't come up with the word honesty or grace or mercy. Those were out there. We're just using them in our book. And I think we need to
Yeah.
create a place where everybody is bringing their faith to work every day and being human again.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness. Because I know for me, I find my serenity in going to meditate, and then I talk to the higher powers, talk to my higher conscious, and understand and reciprocate whatever messages that I receive from that. And then once I come out of my meditation, I'm a whole different person. My
Yeah,
feeling
you are.
totally
Right.
different. My
Right.
my energy is way up, so
Right.
we
Right.
find it in different ways. And the
Yeah.
thing, it's like you said, we got to go there, resort to that, use that as your counseling, and let's continue to make this a better place. You
Yeah.
know, do that.
I agree.
So, Mr. Robert, I know we come into our time, and I'm greatly appreciative of everything that you have taught us today because this has definitely been a very interesting journey and definitely informative. I feel that our people have learned a lot today and they can continue to learn more. Just making sure that they going out there and get your book, start with that if they have to, and reaching out, checking out your website because there's a lot of interesting information on your website. And there's an opportunity for people to grow. So let's grow and let's grow together.
Yeah.
So
And if
please,
someone doesn't want to buy the book, I get it. Money's tight. You can go to my website for free. You can take the satisfaction assessment. It's in there. And that's the starting point of the book is we have people take the satisfaction assessment. There's videos in there you can watch for free. There's a lot of social media content. We're posting things. And don't keep it in. Go in and learn. Go be honest with yourself. Start your journey towards accountability by going to nobodycaresbook.com. Take the satisfaction assessment for free. We don't ask you for your information, but
mhm,
start the journey today. Go be real. Be
yeah,
honest with yourself.
yes, indeed. I totally agree. And I've seen the assessment. So, yes, I totally agree with you. So, give us something motivational, Mr. Robert, that our people can learn from you.
Hmm. Nobody ever laid on their deathbed wishing they had more money. But everybody I've ever met who was near death always regretted the decisions they made in the life they lived. And you only got one shot at your life. So don't blow it. If you're not having the life you want today, do something about it. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you that when you decide to be accountable for your life, you will find joy and freedom and peace in your life that you never experienced before. But you just chasing a buck, just having a job, just start rinse and repeat over and over again. There's no joy in that. Decide what you want your life to be and go chase it. And you have the power to do it. You just got to believe in yourself and go get it done.
Whew, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Words to live by. I totally agree with you on that. No doubt. Words to live by.
Thank you. Thank
May
you.
take this in stride. Do not negate away from this information. Take it in stride, run with it, make sure you're doing everything that you need to do in order to reciprocate this information. So, Mr. Robert, one other thing, once again, please let everybody know where they can actually reach you and get your book and your information.
Yeah, go to nobodycaresbook.com and I read every email. So if you fill out a comment sheet on there, I'll email you back. I genuinely want to help people change their lives. And so go to nobodycaresbook.com, order the book if you want, take the assessment, send me an email, I'll talk to you. It's a great way to get started.
Awesome, awesome. And please let them know about the promotion once again.
Oh yeah, nobodycarespod.com and then you put in the code word YTP and then you put in your address and I will mail you a copy of the book. First two people who fill out the form, I'll send it out right away.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Robert. This has been a blessing. Thanks for definitely sharing all the information that you have shared with us. Definitely looking forward to learning more about you from checking out your website and other places. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings. And you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you, Yellow.